I mean, there is a big problem here because let's say you have an emergency loan, but you have no credit. How do you go about that? How do you get approved for the loan? Let's talk about that. Let's talk about how to get an emergency loan with no credit.
One in a million, one in a million, one in a million. You know they're coming up to me, cause I'm just the kind of flower that's stinging in the beat, but the rhythm's getting higher. Go, 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 go. One in a million, one in a million, one in a million, one in a million, one in a million.
Welcome back, folks, to another edition of the Awesome Suited Kiwi Show. How are you today? I hope you are doing fantastic. I'm doing marvelous, if you were to ask me. If you are doing as great as I am, go grab a cup of coffee or tea or vodka and let's roll. In today's discussion, I want to talk to you about how to get an emergency loan with no credit. The first thing you need to do is employment. Your job history. This is important because the thing here is that if you don't have credit, you need to demonstrate to the lender that you have employment, that you have a job. It's very important, and you got to verify your income. This is important, okay? And so when we talk about let's say job verification or employment verification, we are speaking about making sure that you have a documentation that shows that you have that shows your name and the company where you work at. It has to be recent. In other words, it has to be within the last 30 days, okay? It must be clear and complete. So make sure that basically the lender can see all four corners of the documents. Don't try to play games here, okay? You want to have a legitimate document, okay? And the document must list your income. It's very important, okay? So when we talk about, let's say you have a full-time or part-time employment, you got to show a W-2. So what we're talking about, you are a W-2 employee, okay? Or if you are self-employed, for instance, then you want to show your 1099. It's very important. The bottom line here is that you gotta show your W-2, your 1099, your pay stub. So every 2 weeks or every week or every month, whenever you are paid, okay? And this is important. Now, if you are, let's say you have multiple gigs, same thing. As long as you are an independent contractor, you got to show your 1099. So what am I trying to say here? What I'm trying to say here is that if you have no credit and you're trying to get an emergency loan, the first thing you need to show to the lender is that you have income. Now, income can be from different sources. So when I'm talking about income, I'm not just talking about having a 9 to 5. Hey, boss, if you are lucky to have income coming from business investments or dividends, okay, or let's say alimony, spousal support, child support, rental income, trust or pensions, or if you are getting disability benefits, that's income. Oh yeah, that's income. Okay, or you can get a letter from your trust administrator, that's income. The bottom line is the lender wants to see some cash inflows so that they can actually they can gauge whether or not you are credit worthy. Obviously, you have no credit. That's not a problem, but you got to be able to pay the loan back. And one way to actually gauge that ability is through your income. Very important. So first thing is you want to demonstrate your employment. The second thing is your pay. So this is kind of related, but it is different. So first, you need to show your employment. Secondly, you need to show your pay. Why am I talking about this? Well, the lender wants to see specifically how much you are making. Oh yeah, this is important because basically when we talk about your DTI, your debt to income ratio, it has an important bearing on your ability to repay this particular loan. In other words, the lender wants to see your current debts, your current expenses. So basically, you probably have a mortgage payment, or you have rent, you have groceries. So the lender wants to see your the current total expenses you have every month, and based on that, analyze your DTI. Okay, so your DTI must be very low. It's important when we talk about DTI. We are speaking about debt to income ratio. Okay, this is very important. Debt to income ratio really is just a fraction. It's just a number that, so you, on top of the fraction you put your debts, and at the bottom you put your income. So when you divide your debts by your income, you get your DTI. And you normally want to have a DTI debt that's around the 30 to 35%. The lower, the better. Okay. So one thing you also need to understand here is that after demonstrating to the lender that you have employment, that you have some money coming in, you need to demonstrate how much you are making. Okay. And this could come from multiple sources. Okay. You can probably be getting money from dividends. You can get money from your trust administrator. You can get money from Social Security. It could be many. Okay. And the thing here is that when we talk about how much personal loan you can get on your salary, okay, how much emergency loan you can get on your salary, well, it really depends. It really depends on how much you have left over in your DTI. Let me just break it down. Let's say you have a DTI of 25%. Okay, that's kind of cool. That's very low, and this is good. The lender might say, hey, listen, I think based on his or her DTI, he or she can actually get another loan of, say, $20,000 in emergency loan, because this borrower has capacity. This is important. So the capacity is important when it comes to giving you an additional loan. Okay, if you're interested in finding your DTI and finding your loan capacity, go to finder.com. As you can see on the screen here, they have a very great calculator that will help you. Actually, you just have to plug in the numbers and play with the numbers and see what really works for you. But this is great. This is how you can determine whether or not you have enough capacity to take on an additional loan. I want to talk to you about collateral. Boss, uncle, aunt, I'm talking to you right now. Father, mother, I'm talking to you. The thing is, if you have no credit, okay, if you have no credit and you are looking for an emergency loan, you better think about collateral. See, what we're trying to say here is we want to reduce the risk to the lender. We want to make sure that the lender is approving your ass the first time you apply, okay? And the thing is, if you have collateral to post, if you want to pledge collateral, this is really awesome. Let's say you have a car. So what is collateral? Collateral is simply an asset, such as a car or home, that a borrower offers up as a way to qualify for a particular loan. This could be for an emergency loan or a regular loan, okay? And so collateral can make a lender more comfortable extending the loan, because it protects their financial stake if you, the borrower, ultimately fails to repay the loan. Okay, if you don't pay the loan in full, or if you're having problems, and you can't modify the loan with the lender, then they'll come after you. They'll just repo the collateral that you just posted. So this is important, okay? And so what are the types of collateral you can use? Well, we're talking about cash in a savings account, cash in a CD, okay, certificate of deposits. If you have a car, if you have a fully paid car, a boat, a home, stocks, you have bonds. And actually, an insurance policy can also qualify as collateral. Yeah, people do that. If you have jewelry, if you have fine arts, this is also good. We have seen this a lot. If you have antiques or collectibles, you know, if you are collectible, if you have a lot of collectibles, could also have a monetary value. Precious metals, future paychecks. Okay, so really, you have a constellation of things you can use as collateral. The bottom line here is that you want to protect your financial future, but also increase your ability to repay your debt, okay, to repay this emergency loan. So this is why typically funds in a retirement account, let's say a 401k or IRA, do not qualify as collateral, because basically, you know, the legislator wants to make sure at least your future is protected, okay? That's your retirement account we're talking about. We're not talking about just any kind of assets. So the bottom line is, when you contact the lender for an emergency loan, in the conversation, talk about collateral. Tell them, hey, listen, I have collateral that I can pledge. I can pledge a personal asset, and so this will boost your chances of approval, boss. This is important. And another thing you might try is to add a cosigner. Oh yeah, if you ain't got no credit, this is not a problem if you have a cosigner who has. See, the thing is, a cosigner normally must be somebody who is financially responsible, who is more credit worthy than you, and the person hopefully will have a good credit or excellent credit or stellar credit. We're talking about 700 and above. And the bottom line here is that you want to be very careful in terms of finding your co-signer, boss, because I mean, the thing is, everybody just wants to be everybody can't be a co-signer. If you're having financial problems, you can't just go to anybody. Here is our rule of thumb. How do I find a co-signer? First of all, what is a co-signer? A co-signer is a secondary person who agrees to pay back a loan in case the primary borrower, you, doesn't pay it back. Okay, so when you co-sign on a loan, the loan is recorded on both your credit report and on the main borrower's credit report. And the thing here is that so as long as they make on-time payments, I'm talking about the primary borrower, you'll get the benefits of those marks too. However, if the borrower misses the payment or just stops paying on the loan entirely, you'll be on the hook for the loan, okay? And so my thing is, here's a rule of thumb. If you want to find a co-signer, just think about whether or not, if this person had come to you asking you for a co-signer opportunity, would you do it? See, we want to look for this sort of mutual benefits here, this type of a reciprocity. In other words, if you're asking someone to be a co-signer, would you be willing to be their co-signers too if things were turned around? Okay, so this is, and because being a co-signer is really it's a matter of trust, though, very important. Okay, and so when we talk about co-signer, we can talk about somebody who is your spouse, for instance. It can be a very close relative, a very close friends, okay? Because being a co-signer has financial, legal, and let's say, implications, okay? And we also need to talk about co-signer versus co-borrower. So a co-borrower is someone who is equally liable for each payment and who typically also shares ownership rights for whatever the loan was for. The only thing is that the co-signer, the co-borrower is not, the co-signer is primarily responsible for the loan. The co-borrower doesn't actually have to benefit from the loan. This is important, okay? And it's important to understand that. So if a parent co-signs on the kid's car loan, they are not first in line to make the payments. But if you are a co-borrower, you are first in line to make the payments. So that's the bottom line. Because I want to talk to you about bank statements. All right. So the thing here is that if you have no credit and you're looking for an emergency loan, you better have a bank account. Oh yeah. Don't try to play that game of, oh yeah, I ain't got no bank account, but I hope to get an emergency loan. Well, you could probably get a very tiny ass emergency loan, but if you want a real emergency loan, I'm talking about 5 digits, 10 grand, 20 grand, you better have a bank account. And you need to show the lender your bank statements. Usually they ask for the last 3 months, okay, because it's really important for them to see your cash inflows and cash outflows, okay, to kind of see the movements on your account. So you have to be banked. You need to have a bank account. So what is a bank statement? Well, everybody knows bank statements, but if in case you don't know a bank statement is basically a document that shows your financial transactions and banking activity, okay? And this is important. And so if you're an account holder, you can track your finances, you can find mistakes, you can watch for suspicious activity, and you can learn your spending habits, okay? And bank statements are typically issued monthly or quarterly. If you have an online bank account, it's even better because they will give you your bank statements every month, okay? And so what do lenders look for on bank statements? Well, they look for a lot of things, boss. I'm telling you, they just dig deep. Like the whole thing is they look into the account. I mean, they look into the statement. They pay attention to whether or not you have regular income. If you have consistent monthly payments to certain people, to certain parties, maybe utility companies, your landlord and whatnot. They look at your expense history, right? So that's kind of important because they just need to make sure that, hey, this person has a lower level of expenses. They look at your cash reserve and money in your account. They want to make sure you don't have a history of bounced checks or overdrafts. You don't have no direct debits, or if you do, at least they understand the source of those debits. And you don't have no large deposits, withdrawals, or gifts without a documented source. Okay, it's all about establishing the legitimacy of your account. So lenders verify bank statements a lot. They use it to verify your income and assets. They use it to make sure that you have an account at a reputable institution. Okay. And so this is important. If you want to get an emergency loan and you ain't got no credit, you need to have a bank statements. You need to show bank statements. Okay. So let's just quickly recap here. First thing is you need to talk about your employment. Number two, you want to mention your pay. Number three, if you have collateral to post, pledge it. Number four, you want to add a co-signer. Number five, let's talk about bank statements. I'll be right back right after this. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, folks, to another section of the Awesome Sweetie Kiwi Show. I'm still having a conversation with you about how to get an emergency loan without credit, okay? And I want to talk to you now about lenders, because you need to seek lenders that provide emergency loan with no credit. Okay, they provide this kind of loans because not every lender is just walking around and saying, hey, listen, I'm providing an emergency loan with no credit, blah, blah, blah. Come borrow from me. No. You have a particular niche, okay? You have a particular category of lenders who are, let's say they're strong enough, or they accept this kind of credit, this kind of additional risk of lending to you if you ain't got no credit, okay? So you want to seek lenders that offer emergency loans. You want to look at the online lenders versus the local ones. Usually, for this kind of loan, you are better off going to an online lender or an alternative lender. You want to try with your current financial institution first. You never know. Maybe you are at a credit union. You've been with them for a while. They know you. You know them, and they could probably agree to give you an emergency personal loan. This could be your bank also. Okay. And so don't fall for scammers. When we talk about emergency loans, there are a lot of players out there who don't play by the rules. Okay. A lot of scam loans. So you really want to stay away from those scam loans. First of all, you got to be able to identify those loans in the first place. And you want to check out some reputable lenders. Let me give you a few of them so you have an idea of what we're talking about. So if you're looking for reputable, legit lenders that provide emergency loans with no credit, check out One Main Financial. Okay, with this lender, you have a soft pull, and they will lend you from $1,500 to $20,000. So $1,500 to $20,000. So this is really good. You have E-Loan, which is actually a subsidiary of Banco Popular de Puerto Rico, and this is a legit bank. I mean, they're based in Puerto Rico, but they actually lend in the 50 states, okay? And their e-loan platform is fantastic. You can get up to $35,000 from this lender in emergency loan, and they don't have any problem if you have no credit. And you can also check out Up Loans, okay? Here also you have a soft pull, and Up Loans you can get from $500 to $4,000. You can check out another player that we love is Rise Credit. With Rise, you can actually get $500 to $5,000, okay? And they will accept you if you have no credit. And you also have Simple Fast Loans. Here is another player that can give you loans going from $200 to $3,000. Again, they have no problem actually approving you if you have no credit. And the last thing I want to talk to you about is your current NPR. So earlier I was just quickly alluding to the fact that you need to contact your local financial institution, right? Let's dig a little deeper here. So when we talk about current NPR, first of all, NPR means multi-product relationship, okay? And so my question to you is, where do you currently bank? Do you bank at a credit union? Do you bank at a traditional bank? Do you bank at a regional bank, at a big national bank? What do you bank? Because boss, I'm just telling you, you need to have a bank account, okay? If you ain't got a bank account and you ain't got no credit, don't even start looking for an emergency loan. No. So you need to have a bank account. So when you have a bank account, the question is, how long have you been there? Okay, do you have direct deposit there? You got to have direct deposit there because they need to trace your inflow of cash. Very important, okay? It's not about walking around and telling everybody, hey, I'm making bank. I'm just making $100,000. Boss, can you prove it? Talk to me about your proof. Show me your proof. Show me the money. So you want to have the right deposit there, so they really understand. Hey, listen, this person is for real, okay? And you want to find out what emergency loans they have, if any, the institution I'm talking about, okay? And if they do, what are the requirements? And this is not a kind of thing you can do online. You have to give them a call, or you can go to a branch. Just have a conversation, a real conversation, where they just spill the beans for you and they explain what you have to do. And so you have a clear idea of what the requirements are if they have emergency loans. And the question is, do you have multiple accounts with your financial institution? Sometimes it's just a lot better when it comes to loan approval to have multiple accounts. Okay, let's say you have a checking account, you have a CD, you have a savings account, you have a certificate of deposit, you probably have a money market account. Okay, obviously you don't have to have a lot of money in those accounts. When we talk about those accounts, we are speaking about the variety instead of the quantity. So it's more of the quality. So you can have 3 or 4 accounts, and you just have, like, 1,000 here, 200 there, and gradually you just build up your savings. Gradually you have, so remember that credit unions might have emergency loans. So do not discount the importance. Do not discount credit unions. So if you have an account with them, with your local one, check out, apply at a branch or over the phone and explain the situation. They probably can hook you up. Okay, they probably can do that. All right, boss, this is it. In today's conversation, I was explaining to you how to get an emergency loan with no credit. So I spoke about employment. I spoke about your pay, your income. I spoke about your collateral. I spoke about a cosigner, having a cosigner. I spoke to you about having a bank statements, so showing your last 3 monthly bank statements. And I showed you what kind of lenders you want to go after. Okay, you want to stay away from loan scams. And the last thing you want to really be clear about is your MPR, your multi-product relationship. Thank you so much for your attention. I will speak to you another time, but until then, remember, stay marvelous.